This is Second Take on ESPN Radio. I'm Getty Lane, and this is Alex Altman. And today we are going to talk about the NBA draft, the MLB trade deadline, and have some NFL predictions. So first from the draft, will Lonzo get drafted by the Lakers?
I believe he will. Even though the Lakers are probably going to get Paul George here in the next year, I still think they'll end up drafting Lonzo Ball. I'm not really sure who else they'd get if they don't get Lonzo Ball. There are other options, but I think he's the best one at this point, and I think he's already solidified himself and is going to end up being drafted by Los Angeles.
I think Lonzo Ball, because I think Markelle Fultz will go to Philadelphia. I think Lonzo Ball will be the best player on the board, but I think they're going to have to do something with D'Angelo Russell because I just don't know how Lonzo and D'Angelo Russell fit, so maybe they'll trade D'Angelo Russell for something else. And so other than Boston, because Boston was the 1 seed and they have a top 5 pick because of Brooklyn, who do you think what team with a top 5 pick is closest to being able to compete for a championship?
It's hard
after this draft.
It's hard to say after right now, but I think Philadelphia has a decent shot. The one problem they have is leadership. They don't have a lot of leadership. They have guys like Embiid. They're going to have Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, but half those guys haven't really stepped foot on an NBA court before, and it'll be interesting to see how they all respond to each other. I mean, one kid was playing JV basketball 3 years ago, and now he's being asked to lead an NBA team, so it should be interesting to see how he fills those roles in.
Yeah, well, I think as of right now, Philly, and after this draft, Philly has the best prospects, and I think they're probably the closest to rebuilding and becoming a championship team. But LA is a destination team. Everyone wants to go there. Once Paul George goes there, once Lonzo Ball goes there, a bunch of people are going to want to go there, and that'll build their team up. And I think the Lakers are the closest to competing for a championship out of the top 5 teams. All right, so our next topic is the MLB trade deadline. And I know it's kind of far away, but we're still going to talk about it close enough. So the Rangers, just talk to me about if they're going to be buyers or sellers, because we're pretty close. We're only a game out or half a game out of the wild card. So, yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting because it'll mainly depend on how they do in this next road trip with playing in New York, and then they have to go to Chicago to play the White Sox. Then they're going to have to play the Indians, and depending on how that road trip goes, will depend on if we're going to be buyers or sellers. Yu Darvish, I can't really see him being on the team much longer. His contract will end after this season, and I mean he's not as consistent as we'd like him to be this year. And there's really we're not going to end up keeping him, I don't believe. It'll depend on if we're buyers and sellers, though, depending on how we do at this 10-game road trip we have coming up, though.
Yeah, I think the road trip matters a lot, but since we're so close, and we were the 1 seed last year, and really the only team that really has our number every year is Toronto, I think you've got to be buyers and just get more players. But an example was yesterday. The Rangers' problems when we lose is in late games, because we have good offense, good hitters, decent starting pitching. We just need to help
bulk
the bullpen.
Up our bullpen, yeah.
Like Wade Davis has kind of been struggling in Chicago, but he's still a really good relief pitcher, so maybe they'll be willing to trade him to the Rangers, and I think he'd be the best fit. Now, our second one is the Cubs. The Cubs are below 500 right now, and they're on the way up. They're getting a little better, and they're only 2 games back in their division. But do they have to get more guys to keep winning, or do they just trust the team that got them to win the World Series last year?
I think you have to go with your gut. You have to trust the team that you have. I mean, I think a couple guys wouldn't hurt to bulk up the team and get a few more bats in that lineup. But as of right now, I mean, it's really too early to say. There's still 93 games left. So, I mean, it's still really early in the season. And I mean, if they stick to it, I could definitely see them still making the postseason.
Yeah, I think all these young guys, like they started off slow this year, but they still won the World Series last year. I don't think you really make any trades. Maybe you trade a few guys away, but they've got such a great farm system that maybe you just call guys up that are already in your organization, and then I think they will definitely make the playoffs. All right, and our last thing is just NFL predictions. First off, who do you think is going to be the best rookie this year, defense or offense?
Doesn't
even have to be a first rounder, just any player.
I think Deshaun Watson's going to be a good fit. He really has good quarterback instincts, and Clemson really helped prepare him to play in the NFL, and I think he could be a good fit for the
Texans?
He'd be a good fit for the Texans, and it could really bring, because I mean, a lot of the Texans' issues that came with the quarterback having Tom Savage, and their defense is really well, but if they can just get a good running game and passing game, they have a shot to contend possibly.
Well, I think it's Jamal Adams, because after the Jets gave away a bunch of veterans, their O-line is terrible. They have no quarterbacks, no wide receivers. The tight end position's pretty bad. So I think a safety, their cornerbacks are okay, and then they've got a solid D-line. So I think a safety is really what's going to help
And I think
them, and he'll be the reason they win games. Just defensive turnovers.
And I think playing in the SEC also helped him, having to play those juggernauts in the SEC West. So I think that could help him with his experience going into the NFL this year.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and last but not least, who are your teams? What's your prediction for the Super Bowl? What two teams?
I have the Cowboys playing the New England Patriots. It should be an interesting game, however, but I mean, I think Tom Brady's still on top, and he'll end up leading the Patriots to another Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, I just think the Cowboys' O-line is so good, and they're just so hard to stop on offense that I know their defense struggles, but they're still so good. So I would have to say Cowboys-Patriots, and the only other thing I can see is Cowboys-Raiders, but I don't see that happening. All right, thank you for watching Second Take on ESPN Radio. I'm Getty Lane. This is Alex Aldman.